Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 288, Wednesday, December the 20th, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hello to all my new subscribers. It's awesome to have you with us, joining us for a little fun, talking little politics. That's what we do every day here. Watching the deep state coup. Well, as you know, it is Wednesday, and of course Wednesday, that's the day that we take out the trash and have chicken. Every Wednesday, I take out the trash and have chicken. Last week, of course, we observed both Rod Rodenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, and Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray in their hearings. Open hearings, by the way, that we all got to watch and have been commenting on for the past couple days. You know, as you go back through that and you look at it, one of the things that stands out the most is how often both of these rats referred to the Inspector General, Mr. Horrowitz. The fact that they're counting on him, and they seem to be very happy about the fact that Mr. Horowitz is conducting this internal investigation on them. Why would Rodenstein and No Shit Sherlock Ray be so comfortable and so happy with the idea that they're being investigated by the Inspector General? Maybe it's because he's an inside guy. They want us to have the idea that he's somehow some outsider who's going to go looking deep into what they're doing. Nah, that's not what's happening. First of all, as the Inspector General, he's very limited to what he can look at. He's focused on the email, the handling of the email investigation. That's primarily what the Inspector General is supposed to be looking at, how the email investigation was handled. It doesn't go into any of these other things. Also, is he really an outsider? I think we're going to learn that he's not. That's what we're going to be talking about in the first segment of today's video. We're going to try to determine if Michael Horowitz is actually a white hat. I have some evidence here that suggests he's not, and it may explain why Rodenstein and No Shit Sherlock Ray seem to be so comfortable with the fact that he's the one doing the investigation. I'd be pretty comfortable with that if I were them too, knowing what I've just learned about the Inspector General. Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. We know that he's the guy who just leaked 375 of the 10,000 texts from Peter Benstrokinus. Why did Inspector General Horowitz, why did he leak those 375 text messages of Peter Benstrokinus? Wonder why he did that. Well, we can speculate on some various reasons why. One of them would be obvious, that they may have believed at some point that these text messages were going to come out, and they wanted to get out ahead of it. That's one reason. There could be other reasons. As we move farther on down this road, I think we'll learn the real reason why Michael Horowitz decided to leak those. And by the very fact that he leaked those is a violation of his oath, of what he's under oath to do. He's not supposed to be leaking, and he's already started. He should recuse himself. It should also be noted that he's not allowed to look at FISA. He's not allowed to look at the FBI application for the FISA warrant. He's not allowed to listen to any of those secret phone calls. He's not allowed to look at or listen to or have access to a lot of things. His investigation is very limited in scope. First of all, that gives him cover. But let's look into the past of one Michael Horowitz and see what we can learn. Who provided the letter of recommendation which got Horowitz the job of Inspector General? Well, it was the Assistant Attorney General, David Ogden, who was a close colleague of the executioner, Uncle Bob, Robert Mueller. Also, the dishonorable James Comey, Eric Fast and Furious Holder, Rod Rodenstein, and Andrew Weissman. Horrorwitz is a George Soros cutout. He was groomed at Harvard University, where his handlers were Barney Frank and James Chandler. Oh, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Barney Frank, but for those younger members of our audience who are not familiar with Barney Frank, he was the open homosexual congressman who had a live-in homosexual partner who was running a little bit of male prostitution out of their condo in D.C. Rumors of that, of course, were very well known, but eventually when it got a little hot in the kitchen, he had to step away. He had to leave Congress. Of course, I think he's now a lobbyist for the bankers. He's a banker's boy and a very close friend of the Clintons and of George Soros. So that's what Barney Frank is all about. He had that whiff. He talked like this. Barney Frank. Remember him well. He was a very gay fellow. And his partner was running a gay prostitution ring out of the condo in D.C. And that's why he had to resign. That's the alumni. That's the Michael Horowitz alumni. George Soros, Barney Frank, James Chandler, David Ogden, Robert the Executioner Mueller, James the Dishonorable Comey, Eric Fast and Furious Holder, Rod Rodenstein, and Andrew Weissman. Before he was the Inspector General, Horrorwitz held 9 different positions within the DOJ. He's a lifelong DOJ guy. He's been deeply embedded into the swamp for many, many years. He's a lifelong member. He spent nearly a decade moonlighting, doing a little double dipping while serving in various government positions within the Justice Department. He did a lot of speaking. Apparently, he's a very talented lawyer. He spent nearly a decade training judges and lawyers on how to manipulate the legal system in regards to sentencing guidelines, compliance, ethics, liability avoidance, and he did this while traveling with Bill Clinton, raising money for the Clinton Foundation. Yes, he made a lot of money teaching lawyers and judges how to skirt laws, how to get around things, how to avoid prosecution and liability. Mr. Horowitz was nominated by Barack Hussein Obama on July the 29th, 2011 to be the Inspector General. His law firm, oh yes, he's a partner at a law firm as well. Didn't you know that? Oh, not just any law firm. Cadwalder, Wickersham, and Taft, sometimes called Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. You Three Stooges fans probably enjoy that one, huh? That law firm is well known for representing such clients of the New World Order as Bank of America, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Morgan Stanley, and Bono. Horowitz has worked with Eric Fast and Furious Holder, Robert the Executioner Mueller, the Dishonorable James Comey, Preet Bharara, Rod Rodenstein, while working at the Department of Justice. He's an inside guy. He's good friends with all the fellas, the good fellas. You know who we're talking about. He claims a net worth of over $11 million. Not bad for a DOJ lawyer, huh? So it appears that Michael Horowitz was handpicked by George Soros, who's now the senator from Alabama. Oh, and we also have a wonderful photograph. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, there's a photograph that's worth about 1,000,000 words. And it's a picture of Michael Horowitz, big smile on his face, at Davos with the ruling elite, and a pic right there with Soros, the Clintons, and Bill and Melinda Gates. There you go. Do you think that Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, is the White Hat? Is he coming in the final scene, riding in on the white horse to save the day? I don't think so. Doesn't look like it to me. Looks a lot like he's a deep state inside guy. You couldn't be any more on the inside than Michael Horowitz. So it would appear to me that this guy is an expert. And what is he an expert in? Well, apparently he teaches judges and lawyers how to skirt laws, how to evade justice. Obviously, what kind of guy do you want as the Inspector General? The guy that has to come along when something gets a little bit quirky and has to be investigated. You want a man just like Michael Horowitz. He's an expert in the cleanup. So I would say that the best way to describe Michael Horowitz would be to call him the custodian. What does a custodian do? They come in and do the cleanup. Michael Horowitz, the custodian. That's his job, is to clean things up. And you can bet that that's exactly what he's going to try to do. Exactly what his end game is, we'll just have to watch and find out. But at this point, from what we've learned, Michael Horowitz is definitely not a white hat. He looks more to me like the custodian, the cleanup man, whose job it is to clean up the messes that the Justice Department and the DOJ and the insiders create. When they make a mess that they can't clean up on their own, he's the guy they call Mr. Clean, the custodian, Michael Horowitz. There you have it. What is your favorite Peter Benstrokinus text? I'm sure you all have a few. Most people like to focus on the one about the insurance plan. Some people like the Trump is a fucking idiot. Some people like other texts. I've found my personal favorite. You want to know what it is? Here it is. My personal favorite Peter Benstrokinus text. Quote, I am a single issue voter. The espionage machine party. Let me say that again. My favorite Peter Benstrokinus text, quote, I am a single issue voter. The espionage machine party. Let your mind ruminate on that one for a few moments. And if your imagination is anything like mine, it's quite the ride, isn't it? I bet your little minds are spinning 1,000,000 miles an hour right now on that quote. Haven't heard that one repeated on the media yet, but it's there. Google it. Let's move on. What do you say? Charles Grassley today is calling for let me start over. Charles Grassley today, that's Tuesday. Charles Grassley is today on Tuesday. Charles Grassley was the third time's a charm. Today, Charles Grassley Tuesday was calling for no shit Sherlock Ray, the FBI director, to fire Andy McCabe. I don't blame him. I've been calling for FBI Director No Shit Sherlock Ray to fire McCabe since day one. I was hoping that would be the thing he would do on his first day on the job. Charles Grassley obviously making it very well known. It's not something he said privately, it's something he said publicly to the media. And Mr. McCabe is going to be appearing in front of Charles Grassley's committee. He stiffed Grassley, so now Grassley is going to get a subpoena. But he showed up at Nunes's hearing. He surely did. In fact, it's happening right now. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Guess who Guess who else finally showed up after they've been chasing him down? Now, I assume it was from subpoena. Senator Magoo's right-hand man, David Kramer. That's right. This morning for 4 hours, David Kramer was interviewed by the House Intelligence Committee. That would be Devin Nunes and Jim Jordan and Gates and a couple other of those guys. Gowdy, I think, is on that committee. So I bet that was a good time. I wonder what they learned from David Kramer, John Magoo's right-hand man. Now, it appears that Mr. Gubarev's attorneys have been trying to get to Mr. Kramer for several weeks now, and they say that he's dodging their subpoena. But they say they're going to get him. It looks like Devin Nunes' committee got him this morning for 4 hours. We'll have to wait for the leaks because this was, of course, closed session. Most of the hearings in the in the House and Senate Intelligence Committee are closed because they're intelligence related. Oh boy, what do we have next? Oh yes, Andrew McCabe, of course, showed up for his interview. I guess they're calling it an interview. He showed up to his interview, and as I began doing this video, Fox News was reporting that they were at 7 hours and counting. 7 hours and counting. And that interview is still going on. He showed up with 5 lawyers. They have a lot to talk about with Andy. They probably want to talk about that little insurance policy. They want to talk about the email investigation. They want to talk about all the things that he's been involved in, which is everything. The dossier, you name it. They want to talk about all of it. I imagine with all them lawyers there, he was trying to avoid and evade as much as possible. Or when you look at the situation, he's there for 7 hours. They obviously don't want to cut him loose. They're probably putting the heat on him. And probably letting him know that he can they're probably saying, well, you can either come clean with us, or we can, maybe you can go to a grand jury. You got to answer all their questions, or plead the fifth and make yourself look completely guilty. That's the choice you have, and that, and those types of things will generally be open to the media. If not at the time when they happen, certainly the transcripts later. So he really doesn't have much choice. The question you have to ask yourself is, did Andy break down? Did he break down? I mean, they've got him red-handed on all this stuff. Did he break down? Is he maybe talking about a deal? Is he giving up information? Is he singing like a bird? He's been there for 7 hours. If they weren't getting nothing, they'd have booted his ass out the door and said, you're wasting our time. We'll get back to you with another subpoena when a grand jury is called. Remember, these are under oath. They put him under oath even in the closed session. He has to be very careful about what he says, because if he goes in front of a grand jury and changes his story, they can simply pull out the transcripts and bust him. So, there you go. As of today, Tuesday, David Kramer and Andrew McCabe giving their interviews, their testimonies under oath on a lot of matters, you might say. Matters. I imagine we'll start getting some leaks in the next probably 24 hours, and we'll find out maybe what transpired there. But the fact of the matter is, that meeting isn't over yet. I just was watching Fox News 10 minutes before I started doing this video, and they've got people there watching the room, and they haven't come out yet, and they've been in there for 7 hours. God knows how long that'll go on. But obviously something's going on. And we'll learn probably in the next 24 hours or so what may have happened. Did he break down? He looks like a weasel to me. He looks like a sissy. Maybe he can't take the heat. And I'm sure Nunez is applying it, along with Gowdy and Jordan and Gates. They're probably leaning very, very hard, because these are some very unhappy individuals that it took them that long just to get him there. You can bet they're not handling him with kid gloves. I'm sure of that. Next, Imran Awan. As the investigation moves forward, we have learned, by the way, Chuck Ross of the Daily Caller, I want to give him credit. He's doing a great job on the Awan story. Still following it every day. So, as the investigation moves forward, we have learned that Awan stole tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, of dollars worth of computer hardware from Democrats. And he sent sensitive intel to Pakistan and other foreign groups. But it also appears that he also ran a used car dealership that may have been a front for an overseas money laundering operation, which has ties to some terrorist individuals who are part of Hezbollah, and also one individual who is an Iraqi terrorist, a guy who's in Iraq or from Iraq, and is wanted by the U.S. government as a terrorist. This thing has intelligence ties to it. It has espionage ties to it. It's much bigger than just this guy and his brothers pulling over a swindle on Wasserman Schultz and other people, Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz, and other people, and stealing some hard drives and selling it out of the garage and stuff like that. There's much more going on here. This guy, also, we're learning that he spent, during those years that he was the so-called IT tech there for the Democrats, he spent during those years, he would spend weeks and weeks and even months back in Pakistan, where he was still getting paid as an IT guy, even though he was out of the country for months. But according to Chuck Ross, he has emails which show that Awan was saying basically that he was able to do his job as an IT guy for the Democrats in Congress while in Pakistan, that he was able to do that, which means he's saying he had access to that network. To be an IT technician on a network, you have to have access to it. So he's saying that he had access to the Democrats' network while in Pakistan. How this even got by the CIA, I don't know. Many of these same people that sit on these committees are on the Intelligence Committee. How could you be on the Intelligence Committee? You're talking with the CIA on a weekly basis, getting all this intel about all this stuff regarding the war on terror. And here you and remember, the CIA is deeply embedded in Pakistani intelligence and military intelligence. We created their intelligence. We're deeply embedded. There's a lot of shady stuff going on here, folks. I'm not sure if the black hats are the white hats are the black hats, if they wear the same hats, they change hats when it suits them. This whole thing, it's almost to the point where we should almost just completely abolish the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, this A, that A. There's 17, 21, some odd different alphabet intelligence agencies. We need to just completely get rid of every single one of them, break them up, end them, and start completely over. Turn intelligence back over to the military. You could have an intelligence agency for the purpose of simply gathering intelligence, take away their ability to be able to do covert operations, things like that. This whole thing, man, it's gotten way out of control. These people are so connected and tied into so many different things. We don't know. One day they're on this side, the next day they're on that side. They're in bed with every thing in the world, terrorists, good guys, bad guys, these guys, those guys. I mean, it's a mess, man. We've got a mess, and I'm telling you, when you untangle this, I don't know if you can untangle this Awan situation. I don't know how you untangle this. It's got too many tentacles in too many far-reaching places that you can't penetrate. I mean, we can't penetrate Hezbollah. We can't penetrate nearly impossible to penetrate the actual inner core of these intelligence operations for the terrorists and things like that. I mean, you're never going to get in that deep. But obviously, Imran Awan is connected to these people. how in the world that could go unnoticed by the intelligence agencies is just beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. The Rotten Reverend. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. Not a very good week for the Rotten Reverend. This week, the Rotten Reverend and the DNC were both hit with an FEC complaint for a corrupt money scheme. And the results of a new Gallup poll shows that the Rotten Reverend Clinton's favorability rating has now fallen to a 25-year low. The Rotten Reverend Clinton now only has 34% favorability with 61% unfavorable. That is a high. She's always had high negatives, but I've never seen it that high. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. Her chickens have come home to roost, my friends, and it will get much, much worse. And I'll tell you, her association with the dossier, she's trying to walk away from it. Like, oh, it was just opposition research. Everybody does it. No big deal. That's why she hid it from everybody for over a year. The Rotten Reverend. She will be fitted for an ankle bracelet. She will be sporting a bright orange Chairman Mao pantsuit. Poop stained, I'm sure. And her crooked peckered accused rapist husband will probably be right along with her and a lot of their friends. That's my prediction. Adam Schiff is in a panic. The House Intelligence Committee, House Republicans have launched a new probe into the leaks. And they're very, very interested in one specific set of leaks. We talked about them here a couple of weeks ago. It was the leaks from the Trump Jr. meeting. Remember, Trump Jr. had to go do one of those little interviews like Mr. McCabe's having right now. Although I don't think his is going quite so well. And literally right after that interview was over, CNN and the Washington Post began literally doing stories about what happened. And that got Trey Gowdy, the pit bull, very upset. He went on Fox and he said, I can't believe it. Someone needs to go to jail. We were just literally in that meeting, and literally we walk out of the meeting, and with 10 minutes later, CNN are already commenting, talking about things, leaks that came. There was only 8 of us in the room. 8 of us. 8 of us and Trump Jr. and a couple of his attorneys. And literally, that information was not supposed to be leaked out of there. And within minutes, it was on CNN. And it appears that some Republican staffers who were around noticed that Peter Schiff left the room multiple times during the interview. He seems awfully worried. Is it possible that Schiff was the leaker of what was happening in that Trump Jr. interview? Did he leak that to CNN? And did they pass it on to the Washington Post? That's what they're probing right now. Remember, he is the number 2, highest ranking Democrat, number 2 man on the House Intelligence Committee. The leaking of that type of information is a crime. Maybe that's why Peter Schiff looks so nervous and is acting so crazy. Because let's face it, he's always been crazy. But the last 2 weeks or so, he's really crazy. Julian Assange has retweeted a segment of the Jimmy Dore show where Jimmy Dore basically says Seth Rich was the leaker. Will Uncle Bob the Executioner interview Assange? Will he look at that server? Not a chance. Because that's where you will find the truth. Oh, I just noticed something I missed in an earlier story. I was telling you about the Awans operating this used car lot, which was essentially a front for a money laundering operation for some terrorists. Well, it appears that the name of that car lot was Cars International A. The three letters being CIA. Cars International A was the name of their little car dealership. CIA is what they have on their business card. CIA. Oh my goodness gracious, man. The stench from all this, my friends, is just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I want to say one other thing before I finish up this video today. So I'm watching these hearings, as all of you are watching these hearings, and whenever they start asking questions to McCabe or when they ask questions of Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray, or they ask of the dishonorable James Comey, or any of these other deep state swampsters, whenever they start asking questions and they get to the dossier, these guys clam up like, oh, well, that's, we're not going to discuss the dossier, that's classified. Well, we maybe another committee behind closed doors can take a look at those questions, but we're just not going to have anything. It's, basically they go into classified intelligence. No. What do you mean classified document? The dossier is a classified document. BuzzFeed published the son of a bitch on January 10th, 2017, you fuckwads. Have you arrested BuzzFeed for dispensing classified information? Releasing classified information? I haven't heard about it. It's not a piece of classified information. It's a public document. It was political opposition research, paid for by the Right Reverend Clinton, put together, allegedly, by a foreign spy, British spy, who allegedly got the information from Russian sources through some intermediaries. My friends, the dossier is not a piece of classified intelligence. It is a smear piece that cost the Right Reverend Clinton $1 million, that was used initially to try to tarnish Trump and derail his campaign, was later turned into the cause, of course, to get FISA warrants to launch the Trump-Russia investigation and destroy the president. It may be a lot of damn things, but it was not and is not a classified piece of information. It's a stinking scandal, National Enquirer bullshit story. Not a piece of classified information. So the next time that one of these deep state perps are sitting there being questioned, Mr. Gowdy or anyone else who's watching, and they try to tell you, oh, well, that's a secure conversation, that's a secret information, the dossier, that's a bullshit. I want you to call him out, Mr. Gowdy, the pit bull. Growl at him. Go, I'm Trey Gowdy, the pit bull, and I'm telling you that is not a piece of classified information. It's just a political hit piece. Now answer the damn question. On that note, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure as always. I appreciate you being here. And I'll be back tomorrow for another edition of TowerGate, and we'll see what hits the fan next. Just make sure you're not standing in front of it. See ya.